Pond, DJ Schweitzer. I'm Jeremy Lance. We got White Death headed our way, so we better hurry up with this podcast.
No kidding. We have a wicked inch of snow.
It's going to consume the city.
It really will. I mean, I feel like whenever it precipitates in Cincinnati, it's pretty bad. But when it's any sort of frozen precipitation,
people can't handle it.
No. Mayhem.
Both of us grew up in states north of here.
Yeah.
We kind of can handle it a little better.
Yep.
And I don't know about you, but when I first moved here and an inch of snow, so we had no school across the entire Cincinnati tri-state area, I was dumbfounded. The snow is barely above the grass.
Yeah, absolutely.
No school.
No school at all. That's dangerous. Do you know what happens when people go out on those roads? They all drive the same speed as they do as if they were dry.
I came from Wisconsin where we never, ever, ever had no school because of snow. We never had a snow day.
I lived outside of Detroit. It was the exact same thing.
We had one day the entire time I was there, from kindergarten to the fourth grade. We had one day off. It was because the wind chill was, I believe, in negative 50, so your skin would fall off.
Oh, well.
And I thought, we should probably err on the side of caution this time.
But that wasn't for snow. That was for cold.
That was for just extreme cold.
Extreme cold.
We would have outdoor recess. I don't know about you guys. We would have outdoor recess. We would actually, because we had our big snow coat on, our pants and all that stuff, and our big boots and our hat. We would play full contact football in the snow, and the teachers just let us go because we were not going fast enough to hurt anybody.
Right.
We were already so chalked up with pads.
Yep.
No one's getting hurt.
No.
And our bodies were already numb anyways.
Yep. That's the only way to play in the winter.
Wimps here in Cincinnati.
No one can handle it.
I'm sure other people are listening to this and go, yeah, wimps in our town too.
Yeah. They exist everywhere, but we have an extraordinary number of them here in Cincinnati. So we better wrap this up before mayhem sets loose outside the studio.
Yeah, by the way, did you get your bread and milk?
I did.
Because it may be too late if you haven't.
I stopped because I heard on the radio today that it was going to snow. So myself and the rest of the Cincinnati population were at Kroger's picking up our milk and fighting over the last loaves of bread.
It's important.
It is.
It's what you need.
I know.
Just in case you want to make French toast while you're stuck inside.
Yes.
A lot of stuff to talk about.
Not snow-related.
No. Although I'm still waiting for that week. That snow engulfs all of England.
Yeah, and they will actually shut down games for snow.
Yeah.
I've seen it a couple times. Mostly because
it's more traffic-related.
Yeah, it's more traffic-related, which is kind of odd. Like here, they'll just play in front of an empty stadium.
Sure.
But over there, they're like, we'll just call the match.
They'll even delay matches if there's like a traffic jam.
Yeah.
But it brings one of my favorite things. The high-vis ball.
High-vis balls. They've already brought the high-vis balls out.
I've seen,
noticed they've been playing with the yellow ones, which aren't as good as the old-school neon orange balls that the Premier League used to have.
I have a Premier League miniature neon orange ball that I got from my son for his first birthday.
Those were the best.
They are.
You can see that thing on TV. So, anyway.
A lot of EPL action. Sunday, it was a bloody Sunday of sorts for some of the big clubs, including one that's near and dear to somebody's heart.
Yep.
Few shock results.
There were a few. Even one for someone near and dear to his heart that's sitting in this room as well.
I wasn't shocked by that.
No.
This team is in ruins.
Okay.
United also gets the big victory over Arsenal.
They're shocked. Well, the Gunners at least.
Yeah, I would say the Gunners are shocked. I think they thought that they were invincible going into this one. And United pulled through. They were helped out by a 24-hour bug that was going around the Gooner squad there.
Yeah. Strategic timing there.
Strategic timing by that. They had a little vial there they let loose.
Someone did. Someone from the other side of North London.
Chelsea survived, obviously, as you pointed out. A little bit of controversy there.
Yeah, there was some there.
So we'll get to that. Other results, Southampton, man. Just keep on trucking.
Rolling along.
And, yes, Liverpool did win. Yes.
We'll talk about it.
Their fans are insufferable.
Yes.
Yes.
They want us to talk about it and will remind us of it.
Yes, Luis Suarez is still a monster.
In a lot of different facets.
Yes. Scoring monster, and also regular old bite you monster.
You just don't know.
And a racist.
Yes.
MLS playoffs continue. Some of the games were on TV.
Some of them were. Some of them weren't.
Yeah, some of them were definitely not on TV. What did we talk about that progress? What were we talking about the other day about that progress?
I didn't hear anything about progress.
Yeah, I didn't feel it this week.
Yeah.
Real Salt Lake got loose with it.
They really unleashed the fury.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about, obviously, the first legs have started for the conference finals. We'll take a look at that. We will not take a look at my picks.
We'll talk about my picks, though.
Well, we can talk about you can toot your own horn. Let's just completely ignore the fact that my pick was New York over Seattle.
Well, sorry, man. Well, that was a great Price is Right noise, though.
That was the worst Price is Right. I actually have the real one on the cart machine over here. I can just play it.
Perfect.
It's in the other room. I'd have to get up, walk around, find it.
Okay, we don't really need it.
Pot it up.
We don't really need it up that
Make
bad.
sure the levels are good.
I'm fine with what you're doing. You know? That was a much better one. Much better one. So, on to things other than the noises Jeremy will make in between.
And that first one was like 70s porno music. I don't know what I was doing there.
Maybe that's why I liked it.
Speaking of 70s pornos, international break is upon us.
I missed the tie-in there.
I think the pornography rampant in Europe.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
you got a lot of bored dudes sitting around. I'm sure those numbers are way up.
Someone do the science for us on this, because we don't have enough time to run this podcast, the website, live our normal lives, and calculate whether porn consumption goes up.
Well, according to most of those guys, they are doing research.
Well, I'm sure they are.
I've been doing research this whole time.
All right, so
Mexico, New Zealand, can't wait.
Ooh.
Or can I?
I think
ESPN's televising both of these?
Yes, they are televising both of these. They have the Mexican national team.
They do have rights to that. That was an interesting play by them. Well, sure, the ratings are probably decent.
Their ratings are probably much better than most American soccer games that are on.
But, I mean, you have Telemundo's also airing the Spanish broadcast, I believe.
That is true. So these are just...
So that's a split, audience there.
But there are a lot more places that are guaranteed to have, ESPN versus Telemundo.
Certainly. Actually, weird thing. For some reason, I have Telemundo at the moment. And Dish Network likes to just throw free channels at you occasionally.
Every once in a while. Hey,
give this, try this guy on for a
month. Maybe they have a kid in their household that's studying Spanish.
So we have Telemundo right now, and guess who watched United v. Arsenal on Telemundo this weekend? This guy.
Nice. How did you enjoy the Spanish commentary?
The commentary was great.
Right.
According to them, every time someone makes a cross, a goal is about ready to happen because they start ramping up their voice.
Yeah.
They get into it.
It's really dramatic.
Oh, absolutely. I also find it interesting that they insist on, from a graphics perspective, not doing the clock the normal way. The clock doesn't just go, from 0 to 90. It goes from 0 to 45, and then from 0 to 45. And then there's like a little 2T next to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah. I've seen that before on Telemundo broadcasts for the League of Mex kind of stuff.
Right.
I just thought that was their thing for that league. But that's how they do soccer.
I guess
broadcasts.
Well, we'll do it our own way.
UEFA also do or die time.
Down to the playoffs and European qualification.
Some big clubs.
Yeah.
A part of that. And the U.S., they got a couple friendlies. They'll be in Scotland on Friday, Austria on Tuesday. No, we already checked. The stadium in Austria is not named after Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's really disappointing.
Or his illegitimate kid.
who may or may not have the last name of Schwarzenegger.
He might be
right
on
now.
that team. He's like 20-something.
He could very well be. Are we talking about the Maids kid?
The Maids kid, yeah.
The Maids kid, okay. All right. So, well, it's not Schwarzenegger Stadium.
No.
But we'll get into actually who is on the U.S. roster. Whether or not Schwarzenegger's kid is on that roster is still up for debate.
All right, let's get to some EPL action, and let's go ahead and remove that Band-Aid. Tottenham 0, Newcastle 1.
Why did we have to start with me?
Because that's how I wrote it on my
All right.
poorly jotted out notes.
Yeah, so I think if we had recorded this yesterday, I would have been a much angrier person and would have probably come down a little bit more harshly on a number of members of the Tottenham squad and the coaching staff. But I've had a little bit of time to simmer out, so I'm feeling a bit better. But it was still, it's embarrassing almost how we cannot score from open play. Like, it is beyond concerning and something that just makes me feel like, why did we get rid of Gareth Bale?
You know, at the beginning of the season, it was kind of a joke for me to be like, hey, you know, they Soldado didn't score because, you know, they didn't have a penalty opportunity.
I know.
But it's really reality now. I mean, they are not getting it done.
It's really... It's one of those things where you have no confidence at all that when you get into the attacking third that it's going to produce anything. Like, the lack of ability to create chances sometimes, and this was my big gripe right after the match. You know, if we can't even create the chances, how the hell are we ever supposed to win a match? I mean,
you're preaching to the choir over here. I mean, I this whole season watching Chelsea dominate possession with no fruit from that. I mean, they just, you can talk all you want about dominating possession. You can talk all you want about, you know, being able to control play, but at the end of the day, you need to put the ball in the back of the freaking net. And I completely understand where you are coming from, because it is very frustrating for Chelsea fans as well. I mean, it's the same thing. It's get the ball, get it down there, and then nothing happens.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was, you know, yesterday I tweeted out immediately after game, you know, AVB really needs to look in the mirror on this, because to me it doesn't even look like Tottenham are working on other aspects of their game. And AVB is a very cerebral coach, the type of manager that's going to have his players, you know, statistically break down every aspect of what he's expecting them to do in the matches and, you know, what he wants, you know, to happen in every situation. And he doesn't want to deviate from that plan at all. And for Spurs this year, it's predictable as hell. We're going to play it out to the wingers, and the wingers are going to run it all the way down, and then they're going to cut inside, and they're going to take a shot. And beyond that, there's really not much else that they do. You know, that you expect them to high pressure, and you expect them to, you know, quickly distribute out wide and then kind of make that attack. Well, I've talked about it several times. There's just no variance to it. And we have this fabulous player, Soldado, had 20-plus goals last season in Spain, and has done so consistently for the last few years. And we're not even serving him the ball in the manner that he's able to produce in. And that was really the frustrating part, where it doesn't even look like that's something that they're working on in training.
I feel like we follow the same club.
Yeah.
Because you could just take out Soldado and put in Torres, and it's the same conversation.
Yeah, it is. That's a really good point. The major difference between our two clubs, of course, yours has $1 bazillion and a Champions League trophy, and my club just can't quite trip their way into the Champions League on a regular basis.
Maybe not a bazillion, like 0.8 bazillion.
Yeah, well, 0.8 bazillion, which is somewhere somewhere larger than $1 billion.
Would you say the Tottenham offense is concussed?
We may as well throw Lloris up there at this point. You know, maybe that would
have a better shot.
Yeah. So, you know, I do think team selection was a little off this weekend. I didn't really like the way AVB started things off. His subbing was a little questionable as well. Just didn't seem like he knew how to remedy the situation.
Did he later say that he picked 11 wrong guys?
He didn't. He didn't. That's something that your manager might have done.
I didn't know if he taught it to him. Like, yeah. Just say you picked them all wrong.
Well, Mourinho seems to have a little thing for AVB. Like, he doesn't ever want to acknowledge him. That said, the second half, having had some chance to reflect back on it, Tottenham actually played lights out. And the only reason they did not win that game by a hefty margin was the fact that Tim Krul probably had the best game that he will ever have as a professional soccer player.
I mean, Krul's pretty unreal to begin with.
I mean, he's a good goalkeeper. Don't get me wrong.
He's phenomenal.
Not many keepers better than him, but he will never have a game that good. He had 12 saves.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
An insane amount of saves, and a couple of them weren't just, they hit it on frame and I just put my hands up and caught it. And there were a few of those as well because Tottenham have a tendency of shooting directly at the keeper.
I love when that happens.
Yeah, it's effective way of winning matches. But he also made some absolutely world-class match-saving saves as well. So Tottenham created 12 chances in the second half alone, which is probably more than we've created in the last 3 matches combined. So there's some silver lining to this match, but the silver lining is ruined by all the crap that's sitting inside of it. And that's our complete inability to actually finish chances. So something's got to be done. I mean, I'm not even really sure what needs to be done at this point because it seems like they aren't even making an effort to.
Well, that's a good feeling to be in when you don't know what to do.
I do want to make quick mention, Remy. I think he had a really, really good game for Newcastle.
2 in a row.
Yeah. So I would love to maybe snare him up in January. Take him off their hands.
You got City coming up after the break?
Yeah.
How you feeling about that?
Well,
hopefully
clubs,
Joe Hart gets the start.
Yeah, that's true. Bring him back from his sabbatical. You'd expect he'll get some minutes for England.
Will he go on a walkabout?
He may. I don't know.
A Landon Donovan / Dave Chappelle walkabout?
It's worked well for Landon. Maybe you ought to give it a try, Joe.
Not so much Chappelle.
Yeah. I think Chappelle's still on his walkabout.
I think so.
Good for him. That's 2 weeks in a row we brought up Dave Chappelle, by the way.
That is true. Yeah, we did. Let's move on to, I would say, Newcastle getting a win over Tottenham. That's
a decent size upset, yeah.
But not to be outdone, their North England rivals also had themselves a weekend. Sunderland won Manchester City goose egg.
Why is everyone so surprised by this?
What do you mean, why is everyone so surprised by this?
Well,
a crappy Sunderland team beat City, who dropped a 7 last week.
That's true, but let's be honest. City have actually lost the last 4 matches that they have played at the Stadium of Light. And all of those times, Sunderland have been a crappy team. And City have actually been a pretty good team all 4 of those times.
There hasn't really been a lot of times where Sunderland has been something outside of a crappy team.
That's true. No, I'm just kidding. I totally didn't expect Sunderland to win this match. But it is kind of odd that City can't really go up there and snare a win.
I mean, it's just like Chelsea can't do it at Newcastle. They struggle at Loftus Road. I mean, it's weird. Clubs have those spots where they just, for whatever reason, they just bad mojo when they get there.
Kryptonite.
What's Tottenham's kryptonite?
Everywhere. Losing to teams that are inferior to you. That's what our kryptonite is. Playing to the other club's level. Let's not dip back into our match.
Their kryptonite is White Hart Lane.
Yeah, their kryptonite is just being Tottenham Hotspur. We are our own kryptonite.
It was unfortunate to see Josie Altidore just getting just a few garbage minutes there at the end when they were basically already set up to just, park the bus.
Didn't even help his plus-minus ratio.
Nah.
Yeah. Poor Josie.
I mean, he's not going to go anywhere in January. Obviously, that wouldn't make sense, really, for him to move that quickly.
No, not at this point. I mean, you would think the club, they invested pretty heavily to get him in the first place.
Well, if you're going to invest in a guy, why don't you freaking play him?
It's true, but it wasn't working for him. So,
I guess. I mean,
look at him now.
It looked decent. Sunderland. It looked decent the week before.
Sunderland are two wins in a row now.
I thought him and Fletcher played well off each other last last week.
He actually received plaudits from a lot of the English media for his match last week. It may just be that they're giving him a rest, maybe trying out something a little bit new.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows really what's going on? I don't want to rush to judgment on Gus Poyet, and I think he's done an okay job so far. So we'll see how it pans out for him.
So those were kind of the two shock results.
Yeah.
Again, surprisingly coming from the two downtrodden Northern England sides.
Coming up with big results.
Big results. Let's move into the big match going into the weekend, the one that we all had our eyeballs on, including those of us who have Telemundo.
Palace Everton?
Maybe?
Maybe?
But I was thinking more along the lines of Manchester United 1, Arsenal 0, or the match within the match, Coat Zipper 1,
Arsene Wenger 0. Every year Arsene Wenger loses that matchup.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
With the amount of footage we have of this man struggling to zip up a coat.
How has Nike not made him a coat yet that doesn't have a zipper?
They just need to make one that's just magnets.
Magnets? Oh, yeah. You think he would love something like that. Or maybe,
just
buttons,
Velcro.
Buttons, Velcro. Any of these things would work for Arsene Wenger. But
maybe if it was just like a one kind of just moo-moo that he just kind of slides on over top of himself.
Ooh. Like a nightie.
Yeah, like a nightie.
An insulated nightie.
That's a thought.
That would be really fun to watch him put it on the sideline.
He probably needs some help. Your goal coming from RVP off of a quarter. Amazing header. It's unreal.
A spectacular header. Running away from the direction of him, was able to flick it on into the far corner. I mean, people will say, like, oh, he just flicked it on. Now, he absolutely knew exactly where he was putting that. And it was just a classic goal. And a lot of people had said it, and even Wenger himself had said right before the match, that he still felt that Van Persie was Arsenal at heart. But did you see his celebration after that goal?
Yeah, he lost his mind.
He did. He went sliding on his knees.
Just ripping up that turf.
Ripping up that turf. Looking pretty passionate about scoring for him. So I think he's taken a lot of abuse from the Arsenal fans over the last year and a half, and he's moved on.
He was looking about this happy right here.
Yeah, and what Jeremy's holding up right now is a picture of RVP hoisting his first Premier League trophy in England, something he knew he would never do at Arsenal.
Oh, that cut him deep. That cut Arsenal fans. You had to do that, didn't you?
Yeah,
they had to throw that little last comment in there.
I did.
Little throwaway line.
I did. And their title hopes have been slashed.
Oh, they're gone now.
Yeah, they're still in first. They're still in first.
Oh, they're crap.
Yeah, that's why you know that the Wenger out was definitely being tweeted out.
United's only 5 points back.
I know.
Arsenal not just battling United, but apparently battling some illness. Was it some botulism? Was it just 24-hour bug going around?
I don't know what it was. I mean, there were a couple players that were apparently stricken by it. Ozil was definitely one of them. I know that.
Well, his hair was.
His hair definitely was. Wasn't looking as sharp and clean as it has in his.
He had a little line going. Did you see that line?
He's had that line for a little while now.
That's a terrible look.
Yeah, I know.
You either got to go with the full steps or the lightning bolt, or just don't do it at all.
Well, he's trying to blaze his own trail.
I went with the steps when I was a child.
Did you?
Oh, yeah, we had the steps.
I definitely had some steps.
You got to go steps on the side.
Everyone wanted some steps. I also really wanted my soccer number shaved into the back of my head. I was so jealous that I had some teammates who got to do it. My mom's like, that just looks ridiculous. We can't do that.
You want some steps?
Okay, I'll settle for steps.
We'll go with steps.
All right, steps it is.
Anything else to take away from this match? Obviously, it was a big. It's. I don't know if it was telling, but it was a statement match in a lot of ways. We said going into this, Arsenal, could they continue to show their dominance, their early dominance over the league, or would Manchester United be able to show that they are back on the rise? They are righting the ship. They are getting things sorted out, and they're going to be a force to reckon with.
Well, I think there are two main points that need to be talked about. One, from an Arsenal perspective, is
sure
they were kind of due for a bad result. They've been on a tremendous run of form.
They've been playing really well.
Everyone ends up dropping some points, and I think they were bound to do so. And it's not that surprising that this is a match that would happen in. It was kind of shocking, given the history of this tie, how many people were like straight giving the match to Arsenal beforehand, which I thought was a little odd.
I saw that. Yeah, that was a little.
But I think the other point, as far as Arsenal is concerned, is that they're a little overly reliant on Giroud at the moment, and when they needed to kind of pull themselves up and back into this match, they had to rely on Nicholas Bentner to come in and spark things for them.
He almost scored that one with his crotch.
Yeah.
There when he was sliding in.
It was close.
Yeah.
Someone referred to him and his hairdo as the Danish samurai, which I think is a perfect description for what you would expect out of a samurai from Denmark. Not all that graceful.
Not very agile.
No. So, and then from a United perspective, I think it's definitely worth saying Wayne Rooney is playing out of his mind at the moment, looking fitter than a fiddle. I mean, a lot of talk's always made about how fat he is at the beginning of every season. The guy looks like a train right now, just running constantly. Yeah. There was a point where he made a tackle at the top of the United 18 in the second half, cleared it out, or someone else on his team cleared it out, all the way to a lone player back for Arsenal on the other side of the half line. Rooney chased that guy down himself all the way from his own 18 and forced a turnover, which was a United throw-in. And it was just an incredible, 20-second stretch where Rooney probably ran 140 yards.
There was that point earlier in the season where he chased that dude all the way down to his own goal line.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he is heads and tails above anyone else on his team right now.
Yeah. Van Persie included.
Carrying this squad.
Yes.
A squad that, for a while there, didn't look like he was wanted.
He didn't necessarily want to be there.
Yeah, I mean, there's him and Moyes have bad history, including having a lawsuit brought into the mix between the two of them.
Yep, always a good thing to sue your future manager.
Good partnerships and relationships are built on lawsuits.
They really are.
But yeah, I mean, it's just incredible to see that he has been such a rock for this squad so far.
Well, someone had to do it.
Someone had to, and his head is already shaped like one, so might as well be him.
That's true.
One thing about the United match we do need to point out. It happened again.
I know. We thought all the angst and anger about head injuries was only going to be directed at my Tottenham.
No.
But it's going to be spread around a little bit more.
No. Another keeper goes down. Szczesny gets drilled.
He really did.
Straight up cold cock.
By a forehead. And
a large forehead at that.
That's true. He was definitely out cold for a moment as well.
He was absolutely went down like a ragdoll. And yet, once again, we have a situation where the right thing to do is you take this player out because they have what clearly looks like the potential for a concussion. So you need to run your tests. You need to see what is going on. Is this a concussion? Does he have some of the symptoms? And you need to do the precautionary thing and remove him from the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even a question. Again, just like with the Lloris situation, which he didn't play this. By the way, play this weekend again.
By the way, both myself and my new friend Rob Stone did troll Tottenham fans on this one. I tweeted out, AVB has given Szczesny the all clear.
Yes, he has.
And then Rob Stone points out, somewhere AVB applauds the decision to keep Szczesny in. It happened the week before. It even happened earlier this season with Lukaku. The concussion thing has been a bit of a black eye on this EPL season so far. And not only just that it's happening, but the reaction on field and then in the media has been a bit stunning.
I mean, it's from an American's perspective, we're all over it. We're saying get those guys out of there, get them checked out. But the English media are kind of just clapping them on.
Hey, good on you.
Look at them. Being right chaps, getting up and playing.
So I had to do the old Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I had to phone a friend on this one.
Okay.
I had to call my buddy Will Carroll, who, by the way, big Indy 11 supporter.
Okay,
he lives
nice.
in Indy. Big soccer guy. He works for Bleacher Report. You can follow him at Injury Expert is his Twitter handle. This is his thing. Sports injuries, that's his game.
Okay.
So I had to contact him to say, what is going on? Is this good? Is this bad? He had actually some pretty interesting things, a bit contrarian from some of the other people that have been so quick to really take the EPL to task on this, but he pointed out some cool things. Here's an interview I was able to do with him.
All right, joining us right now on the podcast. When I saw this take place in that Tottenham-Everton match, I thought I have to get a hold of Will Carroll from Bleacher Report, the injury expert. Injury expert, also his Twitter handle. You can follow him there. Will, thanks for stopping by.
Hey, not a problem. Thanks a lot, Jeremy.
So, I mean, just give us your instant reaction. I know you're a soccer fan. I don't know if you saw this live, but when Hugo Lloris is basically pleading his case to just stay on after he'd clearly been knocked out, the training staff pleading a different story, and yet it was the keeper that wins out in this argument.
Yeah, it was a very interesting situation, and it's one that shouldn't happen, but we see it happen over and over. You have to take the player's word at some stage, but you also have to take a look at the evidence. And now, I wasn't there, and this is a very, very qualified Tottenham staff. Remember, it was just a year ago when they saved a life on the pitch. So, questioning their talents and their ability to react to tough situations, that's crazy, and I've seen some people do it. What they did was they took the evidence they had, the evidence they'd seen, at the wishes of the player and the coach, and unfortunately it looks like, in retrospect, they made the wrong decision. Now, we can all see how Lloris looked on the pitch there, just laying there, bent, funny. He's lucky that he was able to come up, that he was able to get his wits about him, at least quickly. But should they have taken him out? Yeah, it's very easy to say that. What we don't know is what those doctors and physios saw on the pitch. How is he responding to questions? Did he pass the British equivalent of what we use here in America, which is it's called the SCAT-2 test, and it's basically the same thing you've seen in a lot of places. Repeat back this phrase, where are you? What's the score? Where did we play last week? There's a series of questions that are basically just trying to get to whether or not the brain is working properly. And at some point, I have to believe that Lloris answered the questions. And that's all well and good, but it's easy for us to say now, oh, no, he was clearly knocked out, he should be out, because he should have been. And right. I think what it's going to do is raise a lot of question about what happens next time. Luckily, nothing happened. The best case scenario is that he should have come out but didn't, but there's no consequences from it, and that's the key thing here. The other thing to remember is that with concussions, the symptoms don't necessarily show up the first day. The headache don't come until much later at times, and things like light sensitivity and other symptoms. It's very hard to diagnose those out in the field. Now, are we going to need some sort of rule change to allow teams to take a player off and check on him, especially with a keeper? You can't take him off for a couple minutes the way you would any of the other players. So that's one of the things where, is there a suspension of play? Do you put somebody in a quick concussion sub? And I think those are all things that the FA and the Players Association over there are looking at to make sure this kind of thing doesn't happen again.
Now, I think part of the narrative that kind of now out there that may or may not be true seems to be that Premier League and possibly most of Europe, when it comes to professional soccer, possibly lagging behind in some of the precautionary tactics that we are now seeing implemented in the NFL and college football and on down the line. Is that true, or is this kind of just a story made up now? They've always had a great deal of worry about concussion, but just like with American sports,
we don't know a lot. The doctors and physios are concerned about it. They've always watched for it. They have procedures in place. They've seen rugby union really struggle with this. Rugby union has tried to put in some strong rules. They had the 30-day concussion lock, where any player diagnosed with a concussion was out for 30 days. Well, what we discovered was teams got pretty creative. It was never a concussion. It was always, poked in the eye or a neck injury, all those things we see. There's certainly not the level of collisions, but there's also the worry about head trauma from a level like what we saw with Lloris, what we saw with Wojciech a couple of years ago, where he was nearly killed. One of the worst injuries I've ever seen. And then there's also just the low-level impact of heading the ball every time. We've seen a great deal of problems with that, especially down at the youth level. So I think they're just going to have to take a long look at it. Now, the culture there is certainly a little more, I don't want to say macho. That's not exactly the right word. But the play-through-it culture, play on.
Well, and we even saw it through, AVB afterwards said, he really applauded him for playing through.
And that's the thing. The culture is play through, and we have to change that. It shouldn't be the player's decision. It shouldn't be the coach's decision. It has to be on here in America, it'd be the athletic trainer there. They call them physiotherapists. I much prefer the physiotherapist name because you don't confuse it with anything. But they have a doctor at each and every match, and those doctors know the players as well as anyone, and it really should be them. Then the question becomes, is the doctor beholden to the team? Should there be an independent doctor, as they've tried here in the U.S.? I don't so much have a problem with that. I just want them making the right decision.
Do you think maybe license needs to be given to the refs to make the call that, hey, you got to get off? That's a head injury. I can't let you play anymore.
That'd be awful tough. Let's remember, these referees already have a pretty stressful job, and they are not experts. They're not physicians. I would much, much rather have the physician making that sort of thing and having the media and the fans call those physicians into question on those occasions if they ever do overstep the bounds and say, this player's, he's fine. Doctors are the same. There's good ones and bad ones, but there's not too many bad ones that make it to that level. So you do have to defer to the doctors to some extent, but I think certainly we should all keep our eyes out and make sure a situation like this doesn't happen again.
Real quickly, because you mentioned it a minute ago, and it's something that I've seen a lot of people start to bring up. How dangerous are we finding out that heading the ball is and can be?
Yeah, especially for young people, it seems to have a pretty significant effect. And there's just no good device. We saw Wayne Rooney playing with that kind of head wrap. We've seen Wojciech with the rugby helmet. Obviously, those aren't good solutions. The question is, what do we know? There aren't a lot of studies out there on it. It's something we have to think about. There have been some studies that show that there's learning difficulties in the 24 hours after the low-level, what they call subconcussions. And that's going to be the big worry. Do we need more recovery time? Do we need some sort of baseline testing done on a more regular basis? Now that the baseline testing is available on an iPad, I don't know why we're not doing baseline tests each and every day, after practice, certainly before and after games, to see what these effects are. And that kind of technology is easily available to even, youth-level teams.
Well, it's Will Carroll, Bleacher Report. You can follow him on Twitter at Injury Experts. Also, if you ever have any questions about where to get a good bite to eat in downtown Indianapolis. Will, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
So, some interesting points there by Will Carroll. Again, that's Will Carroll of Bleacher Report. Go check him out.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah, I mean, one of the points in there that really kind of caught my attention was his talk about potentially having like a temporary goalkeeper sub that would come on as the goalkeeper was being evaluated so play could continue. That was actually an idea, or similar to an idea, that was thrown out by Taylor Twellman on ESPN while this match was going on. Obviously, Taylor is a big proponent of concussion awareness and safety.
Just based off his own career.
Yeah, considering he had to retire because of it.
But and he pointed out, his career had to end because he didn't come off the field.
Right. So he proposed having, at least to MLS and potentially in other leagues as well, why not have a quote-unquote fourth sub that you could use for medical purposes, for head injuries? Just in case a situation like this happens. What if you have used all three of your subs and your goalkeeper takes a knock like that? We should make rules in the game to protect players like that.
Well, we saw with Tottenham's case. I mean, they had the one sub left.
They had one sub left. They were clearly getting ready to utilize that.
Yeah, they were looking to change things up, and they almost had to use it there for Brad Friedel, bringing in that keeper for something that, he seems to be okay. We don't really know if it was a concussion or not.
Right.
He played on.
And
he eventually seemed to figure out that he was playing soccer still.
Yeah, he picked it up, as Szczesny did in the Arsenal game as well. Both of them had really big saves afterwards. So, it's a testament to those players and maybe and to the physios and staff for that matter, because clearly they'd made some sort of right decisions. Now, Lloris was out this weekend, and that's probably part of the reason why Tottenham lost. But that said, Twellman, Will both had good points there. Now, the only thing I would be a little concerned about is you could see people abusing that system. I've got a head injury. So let's get a fourth sub on. So, ways to make that rule kind of
you make any
not the
rule,
best
there's
idea.
always going to be someone there to manipulate it.
Exactly.
That's just how it works.
And I would imagine Jose Mourinho would be one of the first ones to use that.
I was going to fight you there, but you're probably right.
Yeah, he has a track record of that.
He does. Well, do what you do if that's what you do.
Hey, whatever gets you the results.
All right, let's talk about said Jose Mourinho and his results. Chelsea 2, West Brom 2, and
you guys were gifted that.
Yeah, I'll be honest enough to say that was handed to us.
I think Ramirez took a bit of a dive.
He took a bit of a dive, and Hazard was able to convert, and all is well. Jose's home undefeated record
stays intact.
It's still there. It's still alive, and they salvage a point from what was another disappointing showing.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea really didn't look the better side for a good chunk of the match.
Second week in a row, they looked like crap.
But you stole the point away.
Stole a point. And look, first of all, the dive by Ramirez wasn't even close enough to being as bad as what we saw midweek Champions League action from Ashley Young.
Well, let's be honest. Ashley Young is a professional diver.
Well,
someone
he showed it.
Known for his acrobatic ability on a football pitch. So, that's comparing a little apples to oranges.
Well, and luckily for Sociedad in that case, they whiffed on the PK.
Yeah, not very often you see RVP miss those, but
it's been that kind of year for him though.
Back to your game.
I just. When this halt went down, I knew what was coming. I saw it from a mile away. The vitriol, the hate, the disgust that everyone was going to have on the social media sites Chelsea, with evil Chelsea and all their billions of dollars. And who did they pay off to get that call? And how many rubles did that cost? And look at this flopper and blah, blah, blah.
You had the perfect troll come back for it.
I did. I tweeted out right after all the nonsense and poop came out of the poop mouths.
Yeah, a lot of poop mouths.
A lot of poop coming out of their mouth. I tweeted, because your team has never benefited from a dive. Everyone has at one time or another benefited from a dive. I'll make it even more broad. Everyone's going to benefit from a poor call.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find me someone who supports a club that's never benefited from a poor call or deceiving the referee, you'll find someone that's also probably the only person that's never sinned. So good luck on that front.
For all those people that were so up in arms about what Ramirez did and dirty, evil Chelsea and their money and their special one and their the rich part of Fulham, and they're AstroTurf fans.
Yeah.
They can eat one because this is what happens.
It is what happens.
Through the course of the season, every club, including Chelsea, will be both the guilty party and the victim of a crap call.
Yep.
It's going to happen. In fact, let's look at last week. Wait, that's right. Chelsea could have easily got the handball in the box call against Newcastle late in that match.
That's true.
And had a chance to equalize. People are going to get sour grapes about it.
That's true.
And rightly so. It was a bad call. It shouldn't have been called. West Brom were victims of poor officiating.
Yeah, and credit to them, too. I mean, they played a really good match.
They played a great match.
Former Mourinho protege, Steve Clark, leading West Brom to a really good tactical performance. I think they sat in well against you guys and effectively countered the way that Chelsea would like to effectively counter teams, but just can't seem to cap off.
Well, and I mean, look at it was the same story as it was last week. Chelsea with a great dominating first half, and then they don't show up for the second half until they absolutely have to, and then it's too late.
Well, I think a lot of teams this year seem to be struggling with that kind of inconsistency.
Tale of two halves.
Yeah, tale of two halves. So you guys fall victim once again at all.
Let's move on to some other matches. Liverpool 4, Fulham, Martignol.
There's no way he's going to make.
How is he still it's Monday night. I'm surprised he hasn't been let go yet.
It's got to be by Wednesday.
I guess.
Maybe they're still working to find, his replacement. And they're just like, we'll just keep him in until we actually have that lined up. You would think that was going to be the final nail in his coffin.
Has to be.
Well.
Has to be.
We'll see how it goes, Big Martin.
They got two garbage matches coming up. So, I mean, at this point, a loss to either Swansea at home or West Ham away, which is how they wrap up the month of November. Have to.
Yeah.
Have to let him go if he loses one of those.
You would expect, but you'd also expect that he would have lost his job by now several times.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe they have some kind of plan.
Yeah, but Liverpool, I mean, I think the story of the match for them has to be...
It's got to be Suarez.
It has to be Suarez. I mean, he is legitimately... Let's put aside his personality issues.
Which is hard to, because he is a horrible human being.
Yes, but let's just put him aside for a second. Is there a better player on the planet right now than him?
Yeah, I said it a couple weeks ago. Him and Aguero were the only two guys, and I would put him above Aguero on the list of where when he has the ball and he's in the attacking end, you just think to yourself, he's totally going to score.
Yeah.
He will find a way to get that ball in the back of the net. It's going to happen.
So, I mean, if they were to if he still wants out, if they were actually to sell him on, they could command bail money for him at this point.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. I don't really think that's going to happen. I think they'll probably give him a hefty raise if they make it into the Champions League.
Who's there to pay that right now?
Yeah, that's a good point. Real again.
Is Barcelona ponying up? They need somebody to fill in Messi's shoes for a little bit.
That's true. He might be able to do the job. But, Liverpool did look really good. They needed that kind of result after kind of having their rears handed to them in the Arsenal match last weekend. So a resounding and promising rebound for them, and they now sit just 2 points back from Arsenal on the table as well. So a good game for them overall. An enjoyable one to watch, too.
And once again, Fulham terrible.
Yes.
Southampton keeps it going. 4-1 over Hull. I mean, there's just not a lot to say about the fact that Southampton's just been doing their thing.
Yeah, I mean,
quietly just building up points.
And to be honest, they didn't particularly play very well. I mean, that was an odd performance for them. Victor Wanyama, who I've lauded several times on the podcast so far, had probably his worst outing so far in the Premier League.
It was a fairly clunky performance.
Yeah, I mean, very inefficient in possession, giving a lot of balls away. It was a rough show for them, but they still run out 4-1 winners over a Hull side that only allowed Tottenham to score 3 goals in 2 matches. So, I mean, it's definitely a team, you know, we're at the point in the season where they're sitting all the way up in third place.
Yeah.
And, they may legitimately pose a threat to some sort of European place, potentially Champions League places.
All right, right now, I'm going to write it down. I want you to give me the date in the calendar in which we can start saying, if nothing else, legit Champions League contenders.
If they are still 4th or above come January 1st.
So Jan 1.
Jan 1.
I'm writing it down.
January 1.
Then we can start saying, this is legit. This is real.
Yeah. I think so. Now, there's still ample time for them to trip and fall after that, as we've seen many asides.
Well,
mine in particular.
You bring up the Jan 1, though.
Yeah.
You're also, so that's the start of what could be the poaching season.
That's very true. Club. That's very true. You know, I think they have a shot, but I think there are also some holes that no one's really managed to expose in that side so far. So we'll see how it goes. Another kind of big result as far as goals are concerned, Norwich 3, West Ham 1. Haven't really seen a whole lot of goals out of this Norwich side lately, considering they shipped 7 against City last week.
Yeah, and I think the other side of that coin definitely needs to be pointed out that West Ham, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
It's a struggle this year. I know that you pointed out a couple weeks ago when I tried to wave the white flag for these guys already that, you know, this is kind of the season that they have. They kind of a little disheveled early on, and they get their points here and there, and they stay afloat.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll still manage to escape relegation. I think they have enough talent in that squad, and if they can get a healthy Andy Carroll in, that may make a big difference for them. There's been a lot of talk of Jermaine Defoe possibly going there in January as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're a striker away from being a significantly better team than they are.
And that was the question I was bringing up is, you know, who's scoring the goals for this club? I mean, who's going to be doing that?
Well, I mean, it does seem a bit ludicrous to pin all their hopes on hoping Andy Carroll, of all people, will come back and just bag him for him. But
not a good strategy.
I think Defoe would be a really good signing for them.
Sure.
Provided that Tottenham could find someone to replace him and not just have,
for you, West Ham just wants to play. That's your problem.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd struggle to say who they would go after. That's not really a club that's known for spending significant amounts of money, and they've done that recently. So if they bring anyone in, it's going to be a bargain buy, maybe someone that's hot from the Championship. But right now, I think someone like Defoe is probably their best bet. A little over the hill, you know, a veteran that's proven he can score. Hell, maybe Fernando Torres can be their next pickup.
If Chelsea agrees to pay for all of his fees.
Yeah.
Just waive it.
Wouldn't be the first time, I'm sure. But, yeah, they are tripping along. Norwich, that was a big win for them. They really needed that. Chris Hughton may have extended his life a little bit longer in the Premier League.
A
with
little
that
bit
result.
longer.
Just a hair.
I think at this point you could say he's definitely on the bubble as managers that are likely to not finish the season.
Yeah. Some more mid-table action. Aston Villa 2, Cardiff City 0. I didn't watch a minute of this match, so I can't really say much what was going on.
Yes, the red was not the lucky color that day.
No, certainly wasn't.
Clean sheet.
Clean sheet, though. Brad Guzan just keeps on pushing. But his U.S. national team teammate also held a clean sheet as well. Yeah.
And I would say if we were ranking shock results, this would actually have to be put in the list of shock results.
Yeah.
Bottom of the barrel, Crystal Palace gets the 0-0 draw with the mighty Everton.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that was kind of a hallmark of Roberto Martinez's teams when he was at Wigan, that they'd have good results peppered in with surprising ones.
Yeah, but I mean, for a contending side, you got to win these kind of matches.
I mean, are we really considering Everton a contending side?
Contending side for at least Champions League.
Yeah, potentially.
I come from the Arsene Wenger school of contending.
Contending.
Top 4 is a trophy.
The trophy of top 4. Yeah, I mean, I think so. But the other thing that everyone always seems to forget about Everton. And yeah, they've had a great start to the season.
Sure.
They are always a club that has really big ups and downs, where they'll have a great stretch where they'll really get amazing results in, and then they'll have another stretch of the season where they'll just forget how to play. So, maybe Martinez has solved that equation. Maybe that's something that Moyes has brought with him to Manchester United. But
that is very possible.
Yeah, but it's not all that surprising, and I don't think Crystal Palace are as bad as their points tally kind of indicates. But at the same time, you would have expected Everton to at least gotten a goal in there, maybe even pip all 3 points.
Sure, yeah. It still at the end of the day was Crystal Palace as their opponent.
Yeah, that's true.
One last match to point out, and there's really not much to say. It was actually a pretty decent match for the 4 people that chose to watch that over United Arsenal.
Yeah, there weren't many of them.
Swansea 3, Stoke 3. Real back and forth affair.
Yeah, Swansea actually went down 0-2 after early Walters and Stephen Ireland, who I kind of thought might have died already. To give Stoke an early lead.
Speaking of people you thought were dead, maybe he still is dead. Brek Shea, or at least dead to them. Brek Shea, once again, left off the team sheet.
Yeah, he desperately needs out of that club.
He's got to get out of the club.
But he somehow managed to get a call-up from Jurgen Klinsmann.
I have no idea what that was.
I think it's just
Klinsmann is that pity?
Throwing him a bone. Yeah, I think so.
Is that some pity time?
Like, hey, man, we think you still have promise, but you got to actually show it to us.
You're getting the pity call.
The thing I do want to point out about that Swansea match, Charlie Adam had a penalty to tie it up for Stoke in the 96th minute. 96th minute.
Is there a problem with that? 96?
It just seems absurd to me, a penalty in the 96th minute. So that's really all I had to point out about it. It just seems weird.
And if there's a penalty, that means that more time was wasted. So when did the match go? Like 98 minutes?
Yeah, probably. So a very up and down weekend of Premier League results. It's kind of left the table in a...
Table is all over the joint.
I mean, it's just, like you were saying earlier, it was kind of, we were waiting for this weekend to come and kind of jumble things up. But I think the most amazing aspect of all of this has to be how close the top of the table still remains. So Arsenal are sitting on 25 points at the top. 7th place, which is unfortunately Spurs, 20. So 5 points separating the top 7 teams. That's insane. It's absolutely insane. So parity in England's top flight.
We'll see if it continues. I mean, as we head closer and closer to the dead of winter, to the opening of the January transfer window, how much more shakeup we'll see?
I'm sure we'll see a bit more.
We're going to see plenty, and that's why we love this league.
Yeah.
Let's get to the other league we love.
Yeah, a little domestic action.
MLS Playoffs in full bloom. You might not be able to see it, but it's happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of been a repeating theme how MLS has kind of mistreated their crown jewel. They're really not giving their playoffs as much respect or face time or efforts that you would expect out of something like the playoffs.
First of all, we have the clunky calendar.
Right.
We're taking, obviously, this international break between legs.
Yep.
And then we'll have the unnecessary, we think we're the NFL 2-week break before the MLS Cup.
Right.
This is a bad move.
Yeah, it's really bad.
We talked about it before. We don't need to rehash all of it, but that's not a good deal. You got to keep people interested. You got to keep people listening and paying attention. This is not helping it. Taking large stretches off. Obviously, international break, there's not a whole lot you can do with that. I mean, that just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, and it's probably you couldn't really have those matches now and see potentially some of these good teams' best players stripped away in the most critical portion of the entire season.
But maybe you think to yourself, hey, we got this international break here. Maybe because of that, we don't need
a 2-week break.
A 2-week break between conference championships and conference semifinals and the MLS Cup.
Yeah, you'd think.
I mean, that 2 weeks, the casual sports fan that's giving you the time of day is going to forget who's going to be in this match by the time it comes around.
Yeah, absolutely. But don't worry about it. They may forget anyway because some of the matches aren't even making it onto television.
So the Houston Dynamo pull it out against the New York Red Bulls in a somewhat dramatic fashion. Obviously tied 2-2 from the first leg. Heading to the second leg Wednesday night, they pull out a 2-1 victory. Also, you had Kansas City. They needed some goals, too, as they went down in that first match 1-2.
In New England.
In New England on that amazing field.
Yeah. That did have sports lines for another sport.
And a giant Patriot head.
Yeah.
They needed goals. They were able to get it. They get that 3-1 victory, so they have the 4-3. Both of them were 4-3 aggregate victories for the Dynamo and Kansas City. But those great second leg matches Wednesday night, not on national television.
Unbelievable.
Nowhere to be found. Obviously, many of us had to turn down that dark alley that is
illegal pirating.
Had to do it. You forced our hand on this one.
They really did. I mean, could you imagine a scenario where another league that considers themselves to be one of the top professional sports leagues in North America didn't allow their games even on television or didn't fight to have them on television? I mean, it seems mind-blowing that MLS settled for that. Like, yeah, okay, we're cool. We're cool with this setup.
Well, and NBC, to their detriment, has made a habit of doing this to the leagues, the properties they own, that they actually have control in. The NHL, obviously one of the main properties of NBC Sports and the NBC Sports family. The Stanley Cup Finals, Games 1 and 2, have been on the network.
I remember this.
But for the past couple years now, Games 3 and 4 were on NBC Sports Network. Games in the finals.
Potentially series deciding.
Yeah. Cup hoisting potential games on cable.
Welcome to the future.
This is horrible. And this is NBC's MO. This is how they've done things.
Well, maybe this will be a reason for MLS to maybe not re-up with NBC and go a different direction.
Well, and that's the thing. Obviously, at the end of next season, the contracts are up. And these contracts also are tied in with USA men's national team games.
Right.
Their qualifiers and so on. It's all going to be up for grabs, and I seriously hope, and we talked about this, I think this might be a podcast episode 1 topic, with the EPL now being the
hot property.
Yeah, the new girl at school.
Mm-hmm. An attractive lady.
Does the MLS need to go somewhere else to get their respect?
I mean, this to me says yes, where it's a marquee, important matchup with teams in big markets playing, and you can't even find the freaking games on the television. I mean, that is
mind-boggling that in 2013 we have at our disposal every EPL match we want, yet we can't get a playoff game, a second leg game. If you're going to miss one, why don't you miss the first leg?
Right. Yeah.
If you for some reason have to miss one of these legs, wouldn't you make it the opening leg and not the one that's going to decide it all?
Well, no one said that NBC completely understood soccer yet. So
I guess, and as I said, it all ends next year. End of next year. MLS will be looking for a new home, and obviously the negotiations are going to happen beforehand. We're going to be talking probably this summer.
Yeah.
those negotiations will be going on, and the new or possibly the same rights partners will take hold of a new contract, and hopefully in said new contract with whoever it is, it's going to include a stipulation that the playoff games, which there's not that many of to begin with. I mean, the MLS is not a big league, and their playoffs don't involve very many teams. In fact,
and not as many games, and not as big of series.
No.
So you'd hope they'd use that a bit of a bargaining chip.
You would think you could get them on TV.
Yeah.
That's all you ask for.
Well,
national broadcast.
Well, let's talk about some of these games that were on national broadcast that followed up that round.
Yeah, we had some good ones over the weekend. We got to start with Salt Lake.
Yeah, so this one actually was the good one.
Great match. ESPN picked the right one.
Yeah, they did pick the right one to actually show. I tweeted out before this that, if you're an American soccer fan that has its doubts about MLS, doesn't find it exciting, thinks it's boring, thinks the level of play is poor.
And listen, I used to live in this camp.
Yeah, I think we all did, at some point or another, unless you came in to being a soccer fan by watching MLS. We've all been guilty of this. But this was a matchup to kind of prove that point wrong, and luckily it lived up to that billing.
Fantastic.
It was start to finish a really entertaining game. I mean, if you're a neutral, it was the type of match that captures your kind of imagination. It was all out attacking, both teams throwing everything at it. Mm-hmm. Nearly had opening goals for both teams in the first 5 minutes. And Portland actually got on the score sheet first through a ridiculous Will Johnson goal. Just up and over top of the wall. Nick Raimondo has been one of the top keepers in the league now for a couple of years. Completely didn't read this at all. Like, he thought it was coming around the outside of the wall. And by the time he had, realized it was coming over the top, he was completely wrong-footed. So,
that was not the Nick Raimondo I saw in the Gold Cup.
No, not at all. And it's not like he did a bad job. It was just that good of a free kick. But from that point on, it was all Real Salt Lake. I mean, they really just upped the tempo, stretched out a Portland team that's used to playing on that itty-bitty field at Geldwen, out in Portland, really disrupting Portland's high-pressure kind of style where they're trying to force turnovers. Way too much space. And for a team like Real Salt Lake that can, has really good players on the ball like Kyle Beckerman, Luis Gill, Morales.
And that Robbie Finley goal kind of really painted the picture for you.
Yeah.
I mean, him able to just get deep, completely beat out that defender for that ball, and then just completely just punked the keeper on that one.
Yeah, he just rounded him.
What was he doing?
I think he just kind of got caught in no man's land.
I think he thought, my defender's surely not going to lose that possession. No.
Crap. So, I mean, Portland ended up, falling 4-2. They did steal a goal literally in the dying seconds of the match that really is going to make the return leg a lot more interesting. If they had gone back home 4-1 down, Real would have just parked the bus for that game, and, it'd have been a pretty tough nut to crack.
It's funny. So I had to DVR this game because I do morning radio. I got to be up early.
Right.
So I DVR'd it, and I watched the first half live. DVR'd the rest of it. Watched it as I was getting ready in the morning, kind of on like double speed, kind of just flipping through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it cut off at like the 90th minute at 4-1, so I just kind of went about the rest of my day thinking that was the final score until literally, like mid-afternoon, I go to start doing prep for the podcast, and I bring up that score just so I can make sure I had some of the information correct about, who got those other Salt Lake goals. And I was stunned. I was like, oh, Portland nicked one late?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That changes everything.
It really did.
Because you're right. A 3-goal lead, that's game, set, match.
Yeah, and I don't think that anyone, as good of a team as Portland has been this year, especially at home, I don't think anyone was expecting them to turn a 3-0 deficit around on the other side. So, luckily they pipped that last goal. It's going to make everything a lot more interesting in 2 weeks' time when we finally get around to playing the other half of this tie. So
got excited for a second.
Then remembered you had 2 weeks to wait until we actually get to settle who wins the actual conference finals. So that was the exciting final. Let's talk for a brief moment about the not-so-exciting semifinal.
Boo!
Yeah, and that was in Houston and Kansas City. Knotted up with a 0-0.
That's what you like to see. That's what the networks want.
Yeah, and I think this is a match that was a testament to how poorly laid out this entire playoff format is. Playing the first 2 rounds, potentially up to 5 games for a team like Houston, in an 11-day span is absurd. I mean, it's just absurd.
The MLS, they go out on a limb by doing this anyways, because outside of a few other, Argentina, a few other leagues in the world, playoffs don't exist in soccer.
Right.
They just not happening.
Yeah.
They have had to jack around with the formula how many times now?
There's not been a continuation at all.
I remember the day when the conference titles meant nothing when the playoffs came around.
Yeah.
And you just have just Colorado is your Eastern Conference champion.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yep, the potential wild card team playing. Yeah, Real Salt Lake won the Eastern Conference title a couple years ago. So, definitely not an Eastern Conference team.
Yeah, that was when they were playing LA.
Yeah, and they actually won.
They did. That was a good one in PKs.
Yeah, and they, based on the way that the 2 ties went, you kind of lean on them being favorites. They really are probably the team performing the best at the moment.
Sure.
Which lines up pretty nicely with my predictions.
You predicted Sporting KC defeating Real Salt Lake.
So Real Salt Lake looked like they booked their ticket to the final, potentially.
Yeah, it's
you give them the title of favorites in that tie right now.
That's all but printed. That one.
Sporting KC, obviously, heading home with a lot to play for. They're a team that have done well at home this year. Hopefully they're feeling a little bit more energized after the break. Not a whole lot of that team was actually called into the national team, which is good for them, obviously. Maybe not so great for a couple of the guys on the team. But it's just, again, it's absurd that we have to wait so long to know who's actually going to make it to the final and then have to wait another 2 weeks to actually get to that final. So,
you're not a fan of that?
I'm not a fan of that. MLS, get your shit together. This is ridiculous.
This shouldn't be this complicated.
No.
It's playoff format. We're not curing cancer. We're not splitting an atom here.
Nope. You could think that we could plan a proper playoffs.
You get X number of teams. You have them whittle it down to 2. You play a championship.
Ta-da.
Boom.
Yeah. Well, enough complaining about MLS playoffs. There's one other thing I did want to touch on the MLS side of things.
Sure.
And, of course, that's the local Columbus Crew.
Yeah.
Finally filling their vacant coaching position.
And it kind of, not a name you heard thrown around too much. I think everything was bogged down by the big name rumors.
Yeah. So there were a few big names they were chasing.
Friedel
was the one. Another former player and club legend, Guillermo Schelotto.
Yeah, that was the one.
He was one that was kind of in the final running. Even talk of people like Eric Winalda potentially getting a shot.
Yeah, there was the pipe dreams like Winalda or Bob Bradley.
Yeah, maybe even bringing Siggy back from Seattle.
Yeah.
Given his bad season, but they pluck out, and there were a few rumors of it a couple days before the decision was actually announced.
I saw his name thrown out there eventually.
But it was Greg Berhalter, former U.S. national team player, brief MLSer, played his last 2 years of his playing career out in L.A.
Fairly recently.
Yeah, 2 years ago. 2011 was his last season in the league.
That's fairly recent.
Berhalter actually had a long career over in Europe, playing in several countries, most famously in Germany, but also spending a little bit of time with Crystal Palace over in England as well. Spent the last 2 years of his career actually coaching as the first ever American coach to coach in Europe.
He broke that glass ceiling.
He did break that glass ceiling. Now, he broke it at not exactly the most prestigious teams.
That break is a break.
Yeah. He was in Hammarby in Sweden. Hammarby, who have been in the Champions League, but that's been about a decade.
I'm sure they fared really well there, too.
They did not.
Oh.
They did not. Hammarby are currently in the second division in Sweden right now, and Berhalter was in control of them for the last season and a half. They did well. They didn't do, fantastically poorly. They didn't do, well enough, obviously, to get promoted back to the first division. But he did an all right job before they moved on and brought in a local guy to actually manage the team.
He's got a decent resume.
Mm-hmm. Was also an assistant coach for LA Galaxy before that as well.
Yeah, and I think, and not to sound rude here or deriding of anyway, but of Crew fans, but I think in all reality, this was a little more realistic of a hire.
Yeah.
Than what some of the people were hoping for and believing in.
Well, the last thing you want to have to do is fire a club legend. I mean, that's something that the Crew have just finished doing.
Yeah.
I mean, Wojciech, while not near the caliber of player that either Schelotto or Friedel ever were, he was a long-serving player for the team, so they really didn't want to have to go through this process again. Berhalter, I think you're right, is a sensible choice. He's got management experience, a little bit in MLS.
He's young.
He's young. The thing that really impressed me is one of the first comments he actually made publicly about landing the job was his intention of hiring a sporting director and actually bringing in someone that's familiar with the MLS landscape, understands how roster rules work, the ins and outs of the league. He wants to bring someone in to help him with the scouting and those kinds of things. So he's not just going to rely on himself, which I think was my big fear.
I think, a lot of people were freaking out, like, he's going to be doing everything? He's going to be...
Yeah. Because he is also been named as the
sporting director.
The sporting director, and he wanted to bring in a technical director.
But sporting director, I think you were one of the people that kind of pointed us out. Basically, general manager.
General manager, yeah. He's in charge of player personnel decisions, who they're going after, who they're chasing, who they actually want to bring into their squad.
And we've seen in other sports that it can work and it can not work.
Yeah, absolutely. So, big news for the Crew. It'll be interesting to see how it works out. Another small thing that was on the Crew kind of ticker this week was talk that they will get a new brand, but not this coming season in 2015. So, they are keeping their colors, and they're keeping their name, but they're expecting a revitalized crest that it will tie in the city of Columbus more.
Well, I did notice that the current crest on the Twitter feed right now is just a very bland black and white.
Is it?
Of their crest. They might change it by now. But it's the crest, but it's just in black and white. Which I probably fueled some speculation of people going, they're going to change the colors on us.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of people that were saying that there was a rumor that's kind of going around about how they were going to put a Buckeye on it, which just seems like a completely horrible move.
Scarlet and gray?
Yeah. There's been talk of possibly bringing that into the color scheme, and I just feel like they don't need to lean on Ohio State at all, and they need to be their own brand. So here's hoping they aren't stupid enough to do that. So I think
the crest is just going to be of that tattoo parlor that Terrell Pryor got free tattoos from.
I think that guy that did that tattoo is probably going to design the new crest.
Yeah, there you go.
Most likely.
He's in jail, though, so he's not available.
Probably not actually going to have that happen. So, one thing I did want to touch on in the American soccer landscape real quickly. There are other leagues in this country, of course. And one of them just had their championship game.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many of you out there watched this, but the North American Soccer League had their Soccer Bowl.
Can I throw this out here as someone who was not able to attempt this over the weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Was this on TV?
It was on ESPN3. So not TV.
Hey, you know what? It's better than those leg twos.
Yeah, it's
true. The MLS that we were just talking about.
Yeah, NASL had a better setup than MLS did for part of their playoffs. So if you're not too familiar with how one would qualify for the Soccer Bowl, it is not a traditional playoff format in NASL.
No, it is pretty much the exact opposite.
Yeah. So NASL play two halves of the season. There's a spring season where they crown a champion, and then there's a fall season where they crown a champion. The spring season champions this year were the Atlanta Silverbacks, who are partially coached by one Eric Winalda. And then the fall champions were the ever-famous New York Cosmos in their first half season playing in the new NASL.
Half season?
Yeah, half season.
They only played half. They only played one of the halves.
Yeah, and that was a big contention point about, the Soccer Bowl. So the Cosmos joined the league halfway through the season, which everyone was puzzled by initially. They weren't burdened by having to play twice the amount of games like the rest of the teams in the league were. Not only that, and there's not a salary cap in NASL like there is in MLS.
Which really only matters for one club.
Which is New York. And they have a drastically larger payroll than any other team in the league.
Which has always been their game.
Yeah.
Way back in the day when they had Pele.
Yeah.
It was because, they could.
They could afford to have a Pele and a Beckenbauer.
Yeah, Beckenbauer, Pele.
Yeah, Chingalia. So, anyway, New York went on to win the Soccer Bowl 1-0 on the back of a Marco Sena goal.
Okay.
Does that ring a bell for you at all?
The name is familiar.
Yeah, so Marco Sena is the Brazilian European Cup winning Spanish national team player. He anchored the midfield.
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, exactly.
He's Brazilian.
European Cup winning.
Okay.
Spanish national team.
Spanish.
Player. Yeah. Now the
was
first.
That back when Jurgen was coaching? And
Yeah, something like that. Ironically,
chasing birth certificates.
Yeah, ironically, Diego Costa, another Brazilian, just chose to play for Spain. That was big news this week as well.
Yeah, I did see that.
So anyway, Marco Sena scored the only goal of the game. The guy's like 100 years old now, but still out there kicking about in NASL. So kind of cool seeing that league getting, making some waves, actually getting some exposure, which is definitely not something you see too often.
I was popped into Indianapolis on Saturday, and boy, Indy 11's got their marketing campaign out in force. I mean, I could not turn a street corner without seeing something.
They are really a team that has reached out and been embraced by the community.
And the city is ready for that.
Yeah, and I think that is a club to expect big things from within that league. Peter Wilt, who helped to found the Chicago Fire, is actually the guy who runs that club. He is definitely someone who knows the business inside and out, and their guerrilla marketing campaign is the best way of explaining it. They are really, doing some work over there in Indy.
Yeah, I'm excited for them.
So,
let's move to the international break coming up. Not exactly the big one, or the big ones that we've been experiencing as of late.
Yeah,
it's almost a letdown in a lot of ways that we don't have, this big do or die match for USA. There's no hex ramifications.
Yeah, for us. I mean, it's nice that we're not in a position to have to worry about any of this right now.
Right. I mean,
it'll be fun watching Mexico fans bite their nails, through the next 2 weeks.
Which I heard they're going to have to field a pretty different-looking squad.
Yeah. So they didn't bring in any European players.
Right.
A majority of them come from...
It's all Liga MX, pretty much.
Yeah, it's all Liga MX, and a majority of them actually come from Club America, which is the new... Is that why you're sporting that kit today?
I was sporting it because I mentioned I own a Club America kit.
Yeah, it's true.
A couple weeks ago on the pod, and you were extremely disgusted by that notion.
Yeah.
So I felt I had to wear it in front of you.
It is a sharp-looking kit, though.
It's nice.
It's long sleeve.
It's long sleeve, which is completely unnecessary in Mexico.
Yeah, that's true.
Got the little stripe down one arm.
Yeah.
Got the nice Bimbo logo here.
Yeah. Bimbo bread.
Coca-Cola, and then we got a Corona on the back.
And they know how to advertise in Mexico.
Triple it up.
So a majority of their players are coming from there because their new manager is actually the ex-Club America manager.
Right. Yeah, obviously.
So we'll all watch in, great excitement to see how Mexico managed to either stumble in or out of the World Cup. But there are a couple other, decent matches happening.
That day.
Yeah.
We are all Kiwis.
Yeah, we are all Kiwis that day here in the U.S. But there are some big ones over, in Europe going on. The other team that we're all rooting for, obviously, is Iceland as they take on Croatia. I think that's kind of one of the.
Are we doing that? I
think most people are.
I felt like I didn't get the memo on that one.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of pulling for Iceland as the big underdogs. Ukraine and France. France once again finding themselves in a situation where maybe they need a Thierry Henry handball to kind of keep get them back into the World Cup. And then Portugal-Sweden has been billed as the Ronaldo versus Ibrahimovic match. So that's definitely one to at least watch for.
Who do you want to win, though?
I don't know. I mean, I think
out of even those two personalities, who do you want?
I don't know that anyone wants either one of those personalities to win. But
I think Ibrahimovic is much better personality than Dork Ronaldo.
Well, either way, it could potentially cause a warp in the time. A space-time continuum because of the sheer gravity of both those egos on one pitch. And then the boring match, of course, is Greece-Romania, where we really wish both of them could be eliminated. A few. And then, of course, African qualifying is going to wrap up. Storylines there. Bob Bradley will probably see his tenure as Egypt coach come to a close.
Which just, leads to what now? What's next?
Yeah, it's true. And we talked a little bit about that last week on the pod. So a bit of a dull one for, the U.S. Even the roster was kind of a dull announcement. They didn't really bring too much to the table for us there.
Hey, we got dudes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the only big storyline was the fact that, Adam Lehigh finally gets his first shot under Jurgen Klinsmann. So that and Landon Donovan being left out.
No. How will he ever live?
I'm sure he'll be fine, seeing as how he removed himself for a while. So he knows how to enjoy an international break.
He actually gets a little bit of a real off-season until he goes on potential loan.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked to see Landy Cakes playing over in Europe here shortly.
I think it's going to happen. I think Jurgen's going to press as many dudes as he can to get themselves a transfer. That if you're an MLS guy and you want to make that squad, I would say you go get on the horn with your agent and say, I need a transfer if I want even a chance.
Landon Donovan to Manchester United. He and David Moyes, they have a relationship.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It'll be interesting. But how much playtime is he going to get on that?
None. Some. More minutes than Kagawa.
I was going to say, Kagawa hasn't really seized the day on his opportunity.
That's
so maybe.
True. That's true. Cool. So, anything else?
I think that's it. I'm going to go ahead and assume that you do not have a pub for us.
I do not.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we got the international break. We'll have an interesting show for you next week. We'll probably kind of dive into some topics. Obviously, not a lot of games to recap.
Yeah.
So
we'll tackle some things.
Yeah.
If you have a topic you want us to talk about, feel free to shoot that in. wrongsideofthepond@gmail.com.
Yep.
Shoot us a tweet at either wrong side of pond. Don't put the in there.
Yeah, it'll go nowhere.
It will go nowhere.
Because it'll just go to wrong side of the puh.
Wrong side of the puh, and that person is not me. Or at Jeremy Lance on Twitter.
It's just my name.
Just your name. Keeping it simple.
Keeping it simple. And maybe later selling it for money.
Gotta hope for that, Jeremy.
I already had that $10 offer I told you about.
That would be big. That would be big. Maybe you'll get 15. So, cool. Well, thanks for listening in, folks. We'll catch up with you soon.